What's up, Rocket Nation, and welcome back to another edition of A Rockets Report. I'm Kristen Connors, and today we'll take a deeper look into two different Needham sports you probably didn't know much about. Our own Mike Levin loves learning how to play new sports, and he got a crash course in Ultimate Frisbee, courtesy of a family member who's on the Needham Boys team. And then I got a chance to meet with the new Girls Rugby Squad, who now is an official varsity sport. How about that? If you don't know much about rugby, don't worry, neither did I. But co-head coaches Dina Hannigan and Sarah Rowan, along with their three captains, give us the rundown and describe what it means to them to get this program up and running. So with all that being said, let's dive right into it.
Ultimate Frisbee, or Ultimate for short, was invented in New Jersey in the late 60s and years later is picking up steam as a club sport in Needham. The boys team has defeated most of its competition this spring, are one of the top-ranked teams in the state, and are having a lot of fun playing the game.
I'd say it's like a mix of like football and soccer, because like the end zones are obviously like football, of course.
It's very similar to a lot of other sports, but just people won't give it a chance because, Frisbee is not something that you genuinely think about as a, one of those classic American sports, sort of like football or baseball or soccer, but it requires like the same level of athleticism and skill.
The disc moves like a soccer ball in soccer. Like it's swung around the field a lot and just moves around a lot, moves up and down. Rather than football, it's only like forward. The disc in Frisbee moves all over the place.
You have 7 players on each team on the field at one time, and you are trying to move the disc or the Frisbee up the field. But when you have possession of the disc, you can't move with it, so you have to be passing to other teammates. And that's kind of where the soccer or the basketball aspect comes into play, is you want to have different strategies or formations for moving that disc up and down the field, because you get 7 players in another team trying to defend you. And the goal is to get it into the opposing team's end zone, which scores a point, and games are played to 15 points. So whoever scores 15 first wins.
Here in Needham, there's a boys team and a girls team too. In some places, there are even co-ed teams as well, because Ultimate is a sport for anyone. But how the games are governed, it's very different than most sports.
Really centered around the concept of spirit of the game, meaning that because we have no observers or referees in the game, it's all about the players understanding the rules for themselves, officiating for themselves, and having the maturity to be able to talk through discrepancies or disputes on the field. My high school team was a co-ed team, so it was mixed between boys and girls. In college, usually kind of gets split by gender, but one thing that we've been doing in the last 2 years since I've been coaching is we've been having on some Fridays mixed scrimmages or practices with the girls team, and that's a really kind of great way for boys and girls to kind of meet, make friends on the two teams, and kind of share their passion for the sport.
The Needham Boys Ultimate team has their eyes on the Ultimate prize this spring, and that means competing a long way from home.
Let's go Rockets! We rowdy!
Ultimate is more of a tournament sport. We have 3 main tournaments, which are Pioneer Valley Invitational, Amherst Invitational, and States. So obviously States is kind of the most coveted, but PVI and Amherst Invitational are also important. And it's really those tournaments that we do strive for, which we have 4 games a day for 2 days.
The seniors now, we've been playing together for a while, and we've been waiting for our senior year where we can basically have the team and we're in control of the team. And we've been playing with each other through the preseason, of course. We throw outside of school, outside of the season, so we just built up a great chemistry. And this year we're going to take over the league and win it all, hopefully.
Just like every sport, there are skills and techniques to learn to be a good Ultimate player, starting with throwing the disc.
How to throw in the wind, how to throw all different kinds of throws, and then just it's a lot of positioning and tactical ability.
I think just overall athleticism is good. Good hand-eye coordination. Obviously you need to catch the disc. Frisbees fly weird, they float, so you gotta have good hand-eye coordination. And also just being flexible and just being able to jump and dive and just being up for whatever, to do whatever to catch the disc, honestly.
So, yours truly always enjoys learning how to play new sports, and it just so happens that the Needham Boys Ultimate team has the perfect candidate to teach me.
My nephew, he's been playing this is now his 3rd year that he's been involved. Do you think he's going to be a good teacher, someone that can really show me the ins and outs of Ultimate Frisbee?
So Nick is a fantastic player, and in my humble opinion, a fantastic human being.
I know he's got a little bit of a growth spurt ever since last season, so I think he's definitely gotten a lot better.
Nick's definitely definitely one of the best on the team. He'll definitely be able to teach you well. He throws well.
He's a very patient player, especially when you get the disc near the end zone. Players have a tendency to kind of just whip it and go for the first person they see. That is not him, so he always makes smart throws with that. But I think that he'd be a fantastic person to teach you the ins and outs of this game.
Hey, Nick.
Hi.
Good to see you, bud.
You too.
So, I am very excited to see this sport firsthand. Ultimate Frisbee, you've talked a lot about it. For people who have never played this game, what is Ultimate Frisbee all about?
Well, at least for our team, it's about like a lot of brotherhood and just having fun out here. This is one of the best teams we've had in a couple of years.
Spirit of the game aspect of this. There's no referees.
Yeah.
I know you. I know our family, and we always get so worked up over referees. What is it like to be involved with a sport that doesn't have refs?
Well, at times it's like a little annoying because an obvious call might not be so obvious. We like to not have the referees because it's just more like authentic. It's like we play our own game. You just be like physical out there, like bend the rules to our like willing. Yeah.
What are some of the things that people will call?
Picks are usually very common. So you can't like run into someone, or if you run into your teammate, you can call a pick if it like affects the play. That's really common. There's also just a bunch of fouls. So if I'm going for an open disc and someone like jumps into me, I can call foul because of the contact, because you're not supposed to have that much contact. But you can also call on defense if someone's running through me and catching a disc and I think it's a foul. If I'm throwing and I reach out to throw and he hits my arm, that's a foul. I can call a foul. Just read it, like you just get a redo on the play.
Do you ever have situations where like the teams argue about the calls?
Yeah, usually when if it's close to the end zone and one of us catches it, no one really knows if it's in or out. Then you have like a heated argument about it, because at least for us, we always want to get a point in.
What were sort of some of the reasons why you got into Ultimate Frisbee?
Well, I got into Ultimate Frisbee just because I didn't really have a spring sport. I heard about Ultimate Frisbee. I was like, I'll give it a try. It looks kind of fun. I seen like the YouTube videos, and then I got onto the team. I met a bunch of my friends here. We all just got to know each other and kept running it back.
One thing that was clear from, in talking with your captains and talking with your coach and everything, is the way this team in particular is just so tight, and the way the sport, like you guys have just bonded over the sport. And just tell me about how you've been able to like get this team together, and how like you really do seem to have a lot of fun out here.
Yeah, well, a bunch of us did a lot of other sports before getting into this. Like I know we have a bunch of people who got cut from volleyball, baseball, basketball, and then a couple kids I got cut from soccer or just doing it in the fall. We all came together, and then we decided we want to play Frisbee, and then we got very close through Frisbee. And then once we got to the tournaments and we went to stay in the hotel, that's where the bonding really happened. Yeah. And that's when we were like, oh, we're running this back next year. Like 2023 is our year. We're coming for Lexington.
I tried to throw a Frisbee around, and I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. So what are sort of like the basics learning how to play Ultimate Frisbee?
So first, I feel like the easiest thing to learn is the backhand. So you're gonna take your 4 fingers, curve it under the disc. I usually have my thumb pressed on the top of the disc. And then sometimes you can throw it stationary, but usually you want to step out and then throw. And since it's a Frisbee, you can like throw it at different like angles. So you can either inside out throw, which will like eventually, it'll like let you be able to throw at a certain angle so it curves out and then back in. Or you can do an outside in throw, which is you're throwing it at this type of angle and it'll curve in and around. And then the next throw, it's a little harder, but it's pretty simple. You're gonna the flick. Put your fingers on the inside like this, and your thumb on the outside like this, and then your 2 remaining fingers, you can either hold in or press out. It's just for stability. And then you don't want to use much arm because then you're moving the disc too much. You want to keep your wrist pretty flat and flick it with all your wrist power. And you can also do inside out, which you're throwing at an angle, and it's going to travel out and then eventually in. Or you can do an outside throw, and you just tilt it like this and throw it a little bit higher, and it curves back in.
There's only one question. Yeah.
Oh, it's a little high.
So what's the easiest thing to do? To do it like this way? To do it?
Well, it depends
like
what hand you use.
This way?
I'm a lefty, but I always like switch hands, as you probably saw in my early childhood. So for me, if you're a righty, I would throw both throws with your right hand.
My right hand?
Yeah, and you don't want your index finger on here, you want it under, because then it...
Okay. Let's see if I can do this, folks.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good start. What you can do there is just a little more flick on the wrist power, because that's what gets the throw farther. It's not as much arm power as it is wrist power.
Okay.
So more snap in your wrist makes it a lot more faster.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel better. I feel better. I'm still not perfect on that one, but
That's pretty good. That's better.
it's better.
I think he's being nice.
So you need to make sure that the. So do you want to have it like here, or do you want to have it like tucked right here?
I have it tucked in, and then when I throw, I usually step out with my right foot and throw.
Oh, and right, because part of the rules of the game is
You have a
that
pivot foot,
once you catch it, you can only take one step, right?
Yeah, you have one step pivot, and you can pivot out any way in direction you want.
Somebody catches it and they're like in motion,
Yeah.
and they take a couple of steps, but it's like as soon as you've stopped the motion, that's where
that's when you stop.
Okay. Let's see if I can actually throw it to you and see if that works.
Remember, keep your finger tucked in.
Right. Okay.
A lot of wrist power.
Vertical and vertical.
That was good.
I think Kristen's right. I think he's being nice.
That's good.
It's amazing how he gets it just goes right up in the air. I mean, that's fantastic.
That was good.
I saw one of your teammates will launch it in the air, and you have to run down to get it. How do you know the specific trajectory to get it up?
To get it up?
Yeah.
So it depends where the wind is. If the wind is going this way, then I feel like, at least with me, I try to go a little bit more down so it goes up. But when the wind is coming this way, I try to do more high because it's going to get pushed low.
Is there sort of a strategy to try to outrun the defense and try to
Well, yeah,
get
you
it?
want to place it as far out as you can and give my teammates enough space to run. So when I'm throwing, if I'm on the sideline, I'm throwing it out of bounds with a little bit of outside in curve. That way it will go out of bounds and curve back in, and by the time it curves back in, he's going to be running down the field and be beating his defender.
Should I I don't know, do you want to show people the putting it up, the outside inside, to see if I can actually run and catch this thing.
Okay, ready?
All right,
go. Yeah. That's good. All the running for the month.
That's good.
All right, back in.
Ultimate Frisbee, love it. Just wanted to thank you.
Yeah.
Really, this is a lot of fun learning the game from you, the expert himself. But I have to say, thanks again. This was great.
Thank you for being here.
It's time for a quick break. When we return, we'll hear from the brand new Girls Rugby Squad as they head into their season. Don't go anywhere, more Rockets Report is on the way.
The Needham Channel is a community-based television organization that pretty much covers everything in Needham. We cover a lot of different municipal meetings like town meetings, select board, school committee, a lot of high school sporting events up at Needham High School, basketball, football, baseball, lacrosse, soccer, pretty much everything. We have a live newscast every Thursday night, and we pretty much cover a lot of different events with a lot of different organizations. And we're also here for anyone who's interested in learning about television to learn about television. A volunteer here at the Needham Channel can really expect to learn about anything they want. Whether it's being on camera, being behind the camera, learning how to edit, really anything involved in the creative process of television, it's really only hampered by their own imagination and creativity. What really makes the Needham Channel special is the people, whether it be the people out in the community that we work with or our staff. It's really just an amazing experience.
Want to keep up with all the action when you can't be there yourself? Follow the Needham channel on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates on your Needham Rockets. The Needham channel is your home for Needham sports. Imagine always being front row to plays like this.
First play of the game is a throw, and they're going deep, and he has him. And he could go all the way, Matt. What an opening play.
Or this.
Drives to Bickford. There you go, people.
And even this.
Been able to get him to drop it all. That one's beauty. That one's a line drive. That's going to go out of here also. Oh, my goodness.
Being able to capture high school sports at their highest level.
Yes. Needham wins it.
Chmielewski under it, and the Rockets are state champions! Needham Rockets have done it! They have won back-to-back state championships!
Here at the Needham channel, you can do all of those things and more. Plus, we definitely have our fun here too. Interested? We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at sports@needhamchannel.org or visit our website needhamchannel.org for more information. Girls Rugby has officially transitioned back into a varsity sport this spring. New head co-coaches Dina Hannigan and Sarah Rowan, plus their 3 captains, explain what that means for their program and the overall excitement to be back up and running.
So far, things are really going well. We started off, it's a process, and so we started with girls. We only had a few girls starting out that really had played before. And not a lot of playing time, so we really are starting from ground zero when we initially began the program. And then since then, I think it's been about, a few weeks. In that time, they've learned how to play. They know the basics pretty well, and we're just kind of honing in on that. So they've made great strides in terms of learning the game and now enjoying the game and making it fun.
We have girls on the team from all different kinds of sports. They're all athletes, but they come from different sports. So we've got, soccer players and field hockey players and swimmers and golfers. We even have a competitive ice skater. So they're all really athletic, and they all come with zero knowledge of the sport, so they're all literally on the same playing field, no pun intended. So it's actually really great, and they're fast learners. So I think now we are definitely in the flow of things.
It's exciting for Needham as a school to have this a varsity sport, but it's also huge for just rugby in general. I know in other countries rugby is pretty much as common as football and baseball, but here it's really not so common. So the fact that it's gaining traction is huge, and now it's a varsity sport, which is even bigger. So it says a lot for Needham as a school to make this varsity, and it's a step in the right direction for girls rugby especially.
It's kind of special in the sense that this is a varsity sport where the vast majority of the people on the team have never played before, which I think is definitely something that's helpful because you don't have to deal with the idiosyncrasies of 30 different people who play 30 different ways. Everybody's starting out basically from square one, and you can build just a phenomenal foundation because everybody's at the same point.
It's cool because it's varsity girls rugby. That's awesome. Where we were and where we are now. Thinking about the old rugby team, the very beginning, how they had to have the old Babson uniforms, and then where we are now is pretty cool.
Last year, my sophomore year, we tried to make a team, but we didn't. We started out kind of with enough people, but not really, and then we slowly just lost more and more people. And it ended up falling through, and I remember just being I was so sad and so unhappy, and so when I found out they were going to try to revive it, I was so excited to just join and hope that we'd have enough for even a sevens team.
Because it is varsity, the girls will earn a varsity letter for this at the end of the season, and to have that opportunity, sports, high school sports in general, wherever, not just Needham, wherever, it is very competitive, and not everybody always gets a chance throughout their high school career to earn a varsity letter in something. So it's a great motivator for the girls, but also it just shows that, like Sarah said, anybody can come out and try this and do it and be successful, and at the end of the season have something to show for it in the form of a letter.
Rugby's been gaining popularity throughout the area, but a lot of people are still not familiar with it. So, what is rugby?
It is everything. It is
football
fun,
without pads.
Kind of, but it's fun, it's intense. it's passionate, it is fast, it is
team building. You have to have a chemistry with your teammates. I mean, we've both played various sports growing up and through elementary school, high school, and college. I'd say this pretty much stands out for me, at least, in terms of it includes everything that you need to have in terms of being an athlete and playing. But yeah, you definitely have to have passion to stay in the sport. It's an 80-minute game and you're on the ground. It's full contact, full tackling, and you're playing against, pretty high level athletes, I would say. So you have to really love the sport.
It's kind of a mix of like soccer and football-ish. I always tell people it's like football with no pads, basically. I feel like soccer comes in. I don't totally know how it comes in, but I feel like it's definitely in there. There's some kicking aspects, but like it's basically just football, except instead every time like someone's tackled, it's not like, because there's less padding, it's not going to be like a bunch of pile up and you don't like restart every time someone gets tackled, but like the rest of it is really similar.
It's unlike anything I've ever played before. I mean, I was a soccer player, so I never did anything with my hands. I was always with my feet. I think it's just like a big learning curve for everybody.
I would describe it as like a less brutal version of football with more of a flow to it instead of a stop and go kind of pace, just because I think a lot of people think of rugby as this super brutal, violent sport, but like I think what a lot of people don't consider is the fact that in football you have all these pads and stuff, so you're just willing to throw yourself at people with no regard for your actual like well-being. But in rugby you're very aware of your body, and there's a certain way that you have to tackle and a certain way things go. And you can't tackle somebody, you can't blindside tackle somebody, and you have to go down with them, so it's a lot safer.
Rugby in particular you really have to rely on your teammates, not only to like play and win games, but to be safe and to be able to trust each other, and you don't find that in a lot of other sports. I mean, I guess the closest thing you could compare it to would be football. So it's definitely a special kind of unique closeness that they have with each other.
In fact, that's how Dina and I originally came to be, is that we were on a bus in the fall I was for soccer and you were for field hockey, and we were sitting next to each other, and our respective sports were field hockey and soccer at the time, but one of us happened to mention that we played rugby, and that was it. And now we're coaching the varsity rugby team. So there's definitely a strong bond that comes through when you play this sport, and I think the girls are learning that. And it's not just with this team, it's when we play against other teams as well. Once the game is over, it's like there's a chemistry between both teams, there's that camaraderie. We have pizza parties after, the host team will do pizza parties, so it's really unlike any other sport that
I agree.
We've come in contact with.
And it's a great self-esteem builder for this age group, for this kind of demographic. It's really, I've noticed, and I'm sure Coach Sarah has also, like the improvement, and not even improvement, but just the kind of their confidence level in just 4 weeks has dramatically gone up. We have some who didn't like talk at all at the beginning of the season, and now they're talking, they're communicating with each other. It's really an awesome feeling.
My favorite part of it is definitely like the community, because we had our first game last week. It was awesome because we haven't played like that since like so long, and just like being on the field, it's like even though you're tackling the other team, you're still like friends with them. So there's this part where it's called the scrum, and it's like when you have some sort of foul, you guys all get down, you like push up against one another, and we did that probably like 50 times in the game. So it's like I was up and right next to the same girl every time, and just like we just got to like chatting, and it was just like in a normal sport you don't usually do that.
My favorite part is kind of just the people. Like even on the other team, like we had our first game, and I remember like I got tackled pretty hard, and the first thing I said was like good job to the other like teammate, like, or not my teammate, like the other team. And like every time like someone does something well, it's not like the any teams like it's eliminated, like we're all just like really supportive of each other, like wanting to like encourage each other to play because it's such like a kind of not as popular sport. We want to keep people in this sport, and it's just like so nice. Like sometimes there's pizza parties after games with the other teams, and we take pictures with the other teams, and like everyone's just so nice. Even though you're out there trying to like to take each other down, like I feel like everybody is so nice and supportive.
The community that they have in the game is just like nothing I've ever seen before in any other sport. Like, well, like in the game, I went to tackle somebody and they like blew by me. I think I got shot back like 5 feet. And like the first thing I thought was like, wow, that was awesome. It's just like a wonderful community. We like take pictures after the game. One girl scooped up one of my teammates and like held her up for the picture. So like we're all friends, and it's just like an awesome thing to experience, I think.
Now that we all have a general grasp on the sport, why should you join the rugby squad?
It's just so fun. Like, I don't know, like after our first game, I was like, man, I just love this. Like, it's so, you get to run, you get to do the ball. It's like, it combines like every single thing that's fun about sports into one, except you don't have to be like, it's also not something where I feel like a lot of sports, especially at Needham High, it's like everybody's been playing since they were like 4 and they're like all amazing. This sport, because it's like usually people start their freshman year, there's no pressure to be like this amazing godly athlete. You can kind of be anyone sort of and like join and still have a role in the game and still play a part and still have a lot of fun. So I feel like it's really versatile for everyone and accessible.
I would say it's a lot more intimidating than it actually is. Whether that's like the actual fitness part of it or like tackling, you get used to it, and once you learn how to do it, it's really fun.
If you don't like it, which I would highly doubt, frankly, but if on the off chance that you don't like it, you don't have to if you don't want to. But if you join and you like it, then it's going to be a great experience to have, because all of these people here are so nice and welcoming, and we all have a great time every day. So there's no reason not to try it.
It's a major confidence boost. I mean, this is a sport where you pretty much kind of have to come into your own. And like you were saying, you know, some of these girls came out really not talking at all, and now they're the most vocal girls that we have. So that you really find yourself when you play the sport, for whatever reason, you
Yes.
find yourself, and you can come, it doesn't matter your shape or your size or your speed, and I think that's what attracts people to the sport initially, and then they feel comfortable knowing that you don't have to be really, really fast or really, really strong. And a lot of girls come in with no experience, so all of that together is one reason to play, and then when you get on the field, you learn your strengths, you learn your weaknesses, and I think that's a huge draw for girls to stay with the sport. So the attraction is you don't really need to have a size or shape or speed or whatever, and then they stay with it because they learn that they're actually good at something and they could excel.
Definitely.
And that within itself builds confidence and self-esteem, and we've seen that just in a really short period of time.
And the friendships, they're gonna, why should they do it? Yeah, like they have friendships, and like just the closeness that this builds. I mean, like Sarah mentioned, we literally had met one time. We bonded instantly over this game, and you know, 7 months later, we're here coaching it together. So it really, truly is a great way for girls to meet other girls who have similar interests and passions.
And that's all for this episode, folks. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, especially watching Mike run for that Frisbee. It was his first try, by the way, so kudos to you, Mike. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Rock Sport. I'm Kristen Connors, signing off. Until next time.